The morning sun cast long shadows across the rugged terrain of the Colorado wilderness as 17-year-old Maya Chen adjusted the scope on her custom-built rifle. The weapon looked almost comically oversized in her small hands, but she handled it with the confidence of someone who had been shooting since she could barely hold a gun steady. "You sure about this, kid?" asked Jake Morrison, the head ranger at Rocky Mountain National Park. His weathered face showed concern as he watched the slight teenager prepare for what many considered an impossible task. "We've got professional hunters coming in from 3 different states. This isn't some county fair shooting competition." Maya looked up from her rifle, her dark eyes serious but calm. "Mr. Morrison, you called my grandfather because you needed the best marksman available. He's in the hospital right now, but he taught me everything he knows. Trust me, I can handle this." The situation had developed rapidly over the past week. A pack of unusually aggressive wolves had been terrorizing the area, attacking livestock, and showing dangerous behavior toward humans. These weren't ordinary wolves. They were larger, more coordinated, and seemed to have lost their natural fear of people. 3 ranchers had already lost significant numbers of cattle, and just yesterday, a family of campers had been cornered by the pack near Bear Lake. Traditional wildlife management techniques had failed. Tranquilizer attempts had been unsuccessful due to the wolves' wariness and the difficult terrain. The pack leader, a massive gray wolf that locals had started calling Ghost due to its ability to appear and disappear like smoke, seemed to anticipate every move the rangers made. Maya's grandfather, Chen Wei, was legendary among hunters and marksmen in the region. A former military sniper who had served in Vietnam, he had become the go-to person for impossible shots in dangerous situations. When the rangers needed surgical precision to remove threats without endangering other wildlife or people, they called Chen. But 3 days ago, he had suffered a heart attack and was now recovering in Denver General Hospital. "She's just a kid," muttered Bill Rogers, one of the visiting professional hunters. He was a large man with expensive gear and a reputation built on hunting dangerous game across Africa and Alaska. "This is serious business. Those wolves have already killed someone's dog and injured a hiker. We need experienced hands, not some teenager playing with daddy's gun." Maya continued her preparations, seemingly unaffected by the doubt surrounding her. She had grown up in these mountains, learning to shoot before most kids learned to ride bicycles. Her grandfather had been strict but patient, teaching her not just marksmanship, but also respect for nature, the importance of clean kills, and the responsibility that came with holding a weapon capable of taking life. "The wolves are smart," explained Ranger Sarah Martinez, spreading a topographical map across the hood of her truck. "They've been moving in a pattern, but it's not random. Ghost seems to be leading them in calculated strikes. They hit the Peterson Ranch Monday night, the Williams spread Wednesday, and yesterday they went after the cattle near Miller's Creek." Maya studied the map, her finger tracing the locations. "They're testing defenses," she said quietly. "Grandfather taught me about pack hunting strategies. They're looking for weaknesses before committing to a major attack." The professional hunters exchanged glances. Tom Bradley, a tracker from Montana, leaned forward. "What makes you think you understand wolf behavior better than the wildlife specialists?" "Because my grandfather spent 40 years studying predators," Maya replied without looking up from the map. "Not just hunting them, but understanding how they think. He always said the difference between a good marksman and a great one is knowing your target's next move before they make it." The radio crackled to life. "Base, this is Patrol 7. We've got eyes on the pack. They're approximately 2 miles northeast of Bear Lake, moving toward the campground area. Looks like all 6 wolves are present, including Ghost." Jake Morrison grabbed the radio. "How many people at that campground?" "Roughly 30 campers, including several families with children. The wolves are keeping their distance for now, but they're circling. It looks like they're planning something." The tension in the group escalated immediately. Bill Rogers started loading his high-powered rifle, his movements quick and efficient. "We need to get up there now. If those wolves attack a campground full of families—" "Wait," Maya said, her voice steady. "If we go charging up there, we'll scatter the pack. They'll disappear into the wilderness, and this will happen again somewhere else. We need to be smarter." Tom Bradley shook his head. "Kid, I appreciate your confidence, but this isn't theoretical anymore. Real people are in danger. Maya shouldered her rifle and started walking toward the trail that led up to Bear Lake. Which is exactly why we need to end this today. One shot, one kill, clean and precise. Take out Ghost, and the pack will scatter permanently. Miss or wound him, and he'll learn to be even more dangerous. Sarah Martinez caught up with her. Maya, the shot from Bear Lake to the campground area would be at least 800 yards, probably more depending on where the wolves position themselves. That's an extremely difficult shot even for experienced professionals. Grandfather hit a moving target at 1,200 yards when he was in the service, Maya replied, checking her equipment as she walked. He's made me practice shots at that distance every weekend for the past 2 years. 800 yards is well within my capabilities. The group followed Maya up the rocky trail, the professional hunters clearly skeptical but unwilling to let a teenager face the situation alone. The terrain grew increasingly challenging as they climbed, with loose rocks and steep inclines testing everyone's endurance. How do you plan to identify Ghost from that distance? Asked Bill Rogers, breathing heavily from the climb. All wolves look similar through a scope. Maya paused at a rocky outcropping that provided a view of the valley below. Ghost is larger than the others, and he has a distinctive white patch on his left shoulder. More importantly, he'll be the one giving the orders. Watch the pack dynamics. The other wolves will look to him before making moves. Through her binoculars, Maya could see the campground in the distance. Families were starting to notice the wolves and slowly moving toward their vehicles, but the pack was positioning itself to cut off escape routes. It was a coordinated hunting strategy that showed dangerous intelligence. They're not just looking for food, Maya observed. This is territorial behavior. Ghost is trying to claim this entire area as his hunting ground. Jake Morrison was coordinating with other rangers via radio, but the nearest backup was at least 30 minutes away. The professional hunters were setting up their own shooting positions, but none of them had a clear line of sight that would guarantee a clean shot without risking harm to the campers. Maya found a stable shooting position on a flat rock formation that provided an elevated view of the entire valley. She began setting up her rifle with methodical precision, adjusting the bipod legs and checking wind conditions. Rangefinder shows 840 yards to the target area, she announced, making calculations in her head. Wind is coming from the northwest at approximately 8 miles per hour. Temperature is 72 degrees. Humidity is low. Tom Bradley watched her preparations with growing respect despite his initial skepticism. You really know what you're doing. Grandfather made sure of that, Maya replied, settling into her shooting position. He always said that precision shooting is 10% skill and 90% preparation and patience. Through her scope, Maya could see the wolf pack more clearly. Ghost was indeed larger than the others, and the white patch on his shoulder was clearly visible. He was positioned on a small hill overlooking the campground, and his body language suggested he was preparing to give the signal for an attack. I need everyone to stay quiet now, Maya said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Any sudden movements or sounds could spook the wolves or affect my shot. The professional hunters took positions around her, their own weapons ready as backup, but all eyes were on the teenager who seemed impossibly calm given the pressure of the situation. Maya controlled her breathing, slowing her heart rate just as her grandfather had taught her. In her scope, Ghost stood perfectly still, his yellow eyes scanning the campground below. Other wolves were visible at the edges of her vision, but her focus was entirely on the pack leader. This is it, she whispered to herself, feeling the familiar calm that came over her during difficult shots. The world seemed to narrow to just her, the rifle, and the target 800 yards away. The radio crackled softly. All units, the wolves are showing increased agitation. It looks like they're preparing to move on the campground. Maya's finger found the trigger, and she began the slow, steady pressure that would send her bullet across the valley. Everything her grandfather had taught her, every hour of practice, every lesson about patience and precision, came together in this moment. In the distance, Ghost raised his head and let out a howl that echoed across the mountains. It was the signal the pack had been waiting for. Maya knew she had perhaps seconds before the wolves would begin their attack on the helpless campers below. The crosshairs in her scope settled perfectly on Ghost's vital zone. Maya's breathing stopped. Her heartbeat seemed to pause, and her world reduced to the space between her position and the massive wolf preparing to lead his pack in an attack that could result in human tragedy. Time seemed suspended as Maya made the final microscopic adjustments to her aim, accounting for wind, distance, and the slight angle of the shot. 840 yards had never seemed so far, and yet her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory. The bullet knows the way, Maya. Trust your training, trust your equipment, and, most importantly, trust yourself. Ghost took a step forward, his powerful muscles tensing as he prepared to charge down toward the campground. Maya's finger completed its steady pressure on the trigger, and the rifle spoke with a sharp crack that echoed across the valley. The bullet streaked across the distance, carrying with it the hopes of everyone watching and the safety of the families below who didn't even know their lives hung in the balance of a 17-year-old girl's marksmanship skills. Maya remained motionless in her shooting position, maintaining perfect sight picture even after the shot, watching through her scope to confirm the result of her careful aim. Around her, the professional hunters held their breath, binoculars trained on the distant wolf pack. The outcome of this single shot would determine whether Maya Chun was the exceptional marksman her grandfather claimed she was, or whether the wolves would continue their reign of terror across the Colorado wilderness. Everything depended on the precision of one teenager who had learned her deadly skills in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, guided by an old soldier who understood that sometimes saving lives requires taking one. The crack of Maya's rifle echoed across the valley like thunder, and for a moment that stretched into eternity, everything seemed frozen in time. Through her scope, Maya watched as Ghost stumbled, the massive wolf's body twisting as the bullet found its mark. The pack leader collapsed onto the rocky outcropping, his reign of terror ending with surgical precision. "Holy hell," whispered Tom Bradley, lowering his binoculars. "She got him. Clean kill, center mass, at 840 yards. The remaining wolves scattered immediately, their coordinated behavior dissolving into chaos without their leader's guidance. Some fled deeper into the wilderness, while others ran in random directions, no longer the disciplined hunting pack that had terrorized the region for weeks. Jake Morrison grabbed his radio with shaking hands. "All units, this is base. The threat has been neutralized. Ghost is down. Repeat, Ghost is down. The pack is scattered." Maya slowly raised her head from the scope, her face showing the calm concentration that had carried her through the impossible shot. She engaged the safety on her rifle and began the methodical process of securing her weapon, her movements precise and professional. "Outstanding shot, kid," said Bill Rogers, his earlier skepticism completely evaporated. "I've been hunting for 25 years, and I've never seen marksmanship like that under pressure." Sarah Martinez was coordinating with the rangers at the campground via radio. "The campers are safe. They're reporting that the wolves have completely dispersed. Emergency response teams are heading up to confirm Ghost's position." Maya stood up from her shooting position, shouldering her rifle with practiced ease. "We should head down to examine the target. It's important to confirm the kill and make sure the threat is completely eliminated." The group began their descent toward the area where Ghost had fallen, the terrain challenging, but manageable. As they walked, Tom Bradley fell into step beside Maya. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" he asked. "I mean, I know you said your grandfather taught you, but that level of skill usually takes decades to develop." Maya navigated a particularly rocky section before answering. "Grandfather started teaching me when I was 8 years old. But it wasn't just about pulling triggers. He taught me mathematics, physics, meteorology, animal behavior, tracking, patience, and, most importantly, respect for what a rifle can do." 8 years old seems pretty young to start with weapons training, observed Sarah Martinez. "Grandfather said that's when the mind is most receptive to learning proper habits," Maya explained. "He didn't want me to develop bad techniques that would have to be corrected later. Every shot I've ever fired has been under his direct supervision until recently." Bill Rogers shook his head in amazement. "Your grandfather must be one hell of a teacher. What's his background?" Maya's expression grew more serious as she helped the older hunter navigate a steep section of trail. "He was a sniper in Vietnam. Served 3 tours, credited with over 200 confirmed kills. But he never talks about the war. He always said that killing should never be easy, and it should never be done without understanding the full weight of what you're taking away. The group continued their descent in contemplative silence. The magnitude of what had just occurred was beginning to sink in. Not just the successful elimination of a dangerous threat, but the fact that it had been accomplished by a teenager who seemed to possess skills that rivaled or exceeded those of seasoned professionals. "How often do you practice?" asked Tom Bradley as they approached the area where Ghost had fallen. "Every day," Maya replied without hesitation. 2 hours of dry fire practice before school, range time every afternoon after homework, and long-distance shooting every weekend. Grandfather says that marksmanship is like playing piano. If you don't practice constantly, your skills deteriorate. Jake Morrison pointed ahead. "There's the target area. Rangers are already on scene." 2 park rangers were examining Ghost's body when the group arrived. The massive wolf was even more impressive up close, nearly 6 feet long, and weighing what looked like at least 120 pounds. The white patch on his left shoulder was clearly visible, and Maya's bullet had struck exactly where she had aimed. "Perfect shot placement," reported Ranger Mike Torres, who was documenting the scene. "Single bullet to the vital zone, instant kill. No suffering, no collateral damage." Maya knelt beside Ghost's body, her expression respectful despite the circumstances. "He was a magnificent animal," she said quietly. "It's a shame he became dangerous to people. In different circumstances, a wolf like this should have lived to old age in the wild." "That's a mature attitude," commented Bill Rogers. "Not many hunters, especially young ones, show that kind of respect for their targets. Grandfather taught me that taking a life, even when necessary, should never be celebrated," Maya explained, standing up and stepping back from the wolf's body. "This was about protecting people, not about proving my shooting ability." Sarah Martinez was coordinating with the campground rangers via radio. "All families have been accounted for and are safe. The other wolves have completely left the area. This appears to have resolved the immediate threat." Tom Bradley approached Maya as the rangers continued their documentation. "I owe you an apology, kid. When I first saw you this morning, I thought this was some kind of joke. I've never been more wrong about anything in my life." "No apology needed," Maya replied. "Skepticism is natural. I'm used to people doubting my abilities based on my age and size. The rifle doesn't care how old I am or what I look like." "Have you considered competitive shooting?" asked Bill Rogers. "With skills like yours, you could dominate precision rifle competitions. There's serious money in professional shooting sports." Maya shook her head. "Grandfather always said that turning shooting into a sport changes your relationship with the weapon. This isn't about competition or money. It's about responsibility and service." The radio crackled with updates from various ranger stations throughout the park. Reports were coming in of wolves leaving the area entirely, cattle and livestock returning to normal behavior, and the general sense of threat that had hung over the region beginning to lift. "The pack dynamics have completely broken down," reported Ranger Torres after consulting with wildlife specialists. "Without Ghost's leadership, these wolves will likely revert to normal territorial behavior or join other packs. The aggressive coordinated attacks should not recur." Jake Morrison approached Maya with obvious relief on his weathered face. "I can't thank you enough for what you've done today. When I called your grandfather, I was hoping for a miracle. I got something even better." "Grandfather will want a full report," Maya said, checking her equipment as she prepared for the hike back to the vehicles. "He'll be proud that his training proved effective when it mattered most." As the group began their return journey, Tom Bradley continued his conversation with Maya. "What are your plans after high school? With abilities like yours, you could write your own ticket in military, law enforcement, or private security." "I want to study wildlife biology," Maya replied, carefully navigating the rocky terrain while carrying her rifle. "I want to understand animal behavior well enough to prevent situations like this from developing. Maybe there are ways to manage predator populations that don't require lethal force." Bill Rogers looked surprised. "You want to protect the animals you just demonstrated you can kill so effectively?" Maya paused on a flat section of trail, considering her answer. "Grandfather taught me that the best hunters are often the strongest conservationists. Understanding predators well enough to stop them also means understanding them well enough to protect them. Today was necessary, but it shouldn't be the first option." The insight impressed the older hunters. Sarah Martinez nodded approvingly. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need more of in wildlife management. People who understand both the technical skills and the broader ecological picture. Your grandfather sounds like a remarkable man, commented Tom Bradley. I'd like to meet him sometime. He'd enjoy that, Maya said with a slight smile. He likes meeting people who appreciate precision shooting as a discipline rather than just a way to kill things. The group reached their vehicles as the afternoon sun began to cast longer shadows across the valley. The tension that had marked the morning had been replaced by a sense of accomplishment and relief. Jake Morrison gathered everyone around his truck for a final briefing. The immediate threat has been eliminated, but we'll maintain increased patrols for the next few weeks to ensure the remaining wolves don't regroup or become problematic. What about media attention? Asked Sarah Martinez. A story about a teenager solving a wolf problem that stumped professional hunters is going to attract significant interest. Maya's expression grew uncomfortable. I'd prefer to avoid publicity if possible. This wasn't about personal recognition. I understand your preference, said Jake Morrison, but word is already spreading. The campground families are talking about their mysterious protector, and the other rangers are amazed by what they witnessed today. Bill Rogers clapped Maya on the shoulder. Kid, whether you want it or not, you're about to become famous. That shot you made today is the kind of thing legends are built on. Tom Bradley nodded in agreement. 840 yards, high-pressure situation, perfect shot placement, saving lives. This story is going to spread throughout the hunting and shooting communities like wildfire. Maya sighed, clearly uncomfortable with the prospect of attention. Grandfather always said that the best snipers are the ones nobody knows about. Publicity makes you less effective. Maybe, said Sarah Martinez, but sometimes publicity can be useful. If more people knew about responsible hunters like you and your grandfather, it might improve the public's perception of firearms and hunting. As the group prepared to leave, Jake Morrison pulled Maya aside. I know you're not looking for rewards or recognition, but the Park Service has a fund for civilian assistance in emergency situations. There's also likely to be reward money from the ranchers whose livestock was being threatened. Maya shook her head. I don't want any money. This was about protecting people and animals, not about profit. I figured you'd say that, Jake Morrison smiled. But would you accept a letter of commendation for your file? If you're serious about studying wildlife biology, having official recognition of your skills and service could help with college applications and scholarships. Maya considered this for a moment. That would be acceptable, as long as it focuses on the service aspect rather than the shooting. As the vehicles began leaving the area, Tom Bradley and Bill Rogers approached Maya one final time. Seriously, said Tom Bradley, if you ever want to learn more about professional shooting or tracking, I'd be honored to share what I know. You've already surpassed most of what I could teach you, but there might be some techniques that would interest you. Bill Rogers nodded. Same here. And if you ever change your mind about competitive shooting, I know people who would sponsor you in a heartbeat. Maya thanked them both politely, but remained committed to her academic and conservation goals. As she loaded her rifle into her grandfather's old pickup truck, she couldn't help but think about how proud he would be when she told him about the day's events. The radio in Jake Morrison's truck crackled one final time as they prepared to leave. Base, this is Patrol 4. We've completed a full sweep of the area. No sign of wolf activity. The threat appears to have been completely eliminated. Maya started her truck and began the drive toward Denver General Hospital, where her grandfather was recovering. She had a story to tell that would make the old soldier smile. Proof that his years of patient instruction had created not just an exceptional marksman, but someone who understood the responsibility that came with such deadly precision. The sterile halls of Denver General Hospital felt strange to Maya after spending the morning in the rugged wilderness. She carried a small bouquet of wildflowers she had picked near Bear Lake, knowing her grandfather would appreciate something from the mountains more than expensive store-bought arrangements. Room 314 was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. Chun Wei lay propped up in bed, his weathered face showing the fatigue of recovery, but his eyes alert and bright when he saw his granddaughter enter. Maya, he said, his voice still strong despite his recent ordeal. How did the situation with the wolves resolve? Jake Morrison called this morning, but said he would let you provide the details. Maya pulled a chair close to his bed and sat down, placing the wildflowers in a water cup on the nightstand. Ghost won't be threatening anyone anymore, grandfather. The pack scattered, and the rangers believe the danger has passed. Chenwei studied his granddaughter's face carefully. You made the shot. It wasn't a question. After decades of military service and years of training Maya, he could read the subtle signs of someone who had recently been in a high-stress shooting situation and performed successfully. 840 yards, Maya confirmed. Single shot, clean kill. Everything you taught me worked perfectly. The old man's expression showed pride mixed with concern. Tell me everything. The conditions, the pressure situation, how you handled the stress. Maya described the morning's events in detail, from the initial skepticism of the professional hunters to the final moment when her bullet found its mark. Chenwei listened intently, occasionally asking questions about technical details or her mental state during the shot. The wind was tricky, Maya explained. Northwest at 8 miles per hour, but it was gusting irregularly because of the valley terrain. I had to time the shot for a lull between gusts. Good. Chenwei nodded approvingly. Reading wind in mountain terrain is one of the most difficult skills. Many experienced shooters never master it properly. The professional hunters were impressed, Maya continued. Tom Bradley and Bill Rogers both offered to provide additional training if I'm interested. Chenwei's expression grew thoughtful. What did you think of them? Were they competent? Very skilled, Maya replied honestly. But they approached the situation differently than you would have. They were focused on eliminating the threat through overwhelming firepower. You would have studied the pack dynamics first. Look for the most efficient solution. Correct, the old man said. Military sniping teaches you to think strategically, not just tactically. Remove the right target, and the entire problem resolves itself. Shoot randomly, and you often create bigger problems. A soft knock interrupted their conversation. Jake Morrison appeared in the doorway, his ranger hat in his hands, and a respectful expression on his face. Mr. Chun, I hope you don't mind the intrusion. I wanted to thank you personally for raising such an exceptional granddaughter. Chenwei gestured for the ranger to enter. Jake, you've known Maya since she was a child. Did you doubt she could handle the situation? Jake Morrison looked slightly embarrassed. Honestly, when I called this morning, I was hoping you might have a colleague who could help. I never imagined that your granddaughter would be capable of what she accomplished today. That's understandable, Chenwei replied. Maya doesn't look like what people expect from a precision marksman. That can be an advantage in some situations. Jake Morrison pulled out a manila folder from his jacket. I've prepared a formal commendation letter for Maya's file. The Park Service wants to recognize her service officially. Maya accepted the folder, but didn't open it immediately. Mr. Morrison, I hope this doesn't lead to unwanted publicity. I'd prefer to keep this quiet. I'm afraid that ship has already sailed, Jake Morrison said apologetically. The families at the campground have been talking. Word is spreading throughout the hunting and outdoor communities. By tomorrow, this story will be circulating widely. Chenwei looked concerned. What kind of attention are we talking about? Local media interest is already developing, Jake Morrison explained. Several hunting magazines have called asking for interviews. There's also been inquiries from shooting sports organizations. Maya sighed deeply. Grandfather, you always said that the best snipers are invisible. How do I handle unwanted attention while still being respectful to people who want to thank me? Chenwei considered the question carefully. In Vietnam, we had a saying, the bullet speaks, but the sniper remains silent. You don't owe anyone explanations about your abilities or methods. Polite deflection is usually sufficient. But there might be positive aspects to controlled publicity, Jake Morrison suggested. Young women in shooting sports don't have many role models. Your story could inspire girls who are interested in hunting and marksmanship. This perspective clearly interested Maya. I hadn't considered that angle. Chenwei nodded slowly. Your grandmother was one of the first women in our region to compete in precision rifle competitions. She faced considerable skepticism and discrimination. Having positive examples can make a difference for the next generation. What would you recommend, grandfather? Maya asked. Controlled disclosure, Chenwei replied. Choose your words carefully. Focus on the training and preparation rather than the drama. Emphasize safety, responsibility, and conservation. Avoid details that could be misused by people with bad intentions. A nurse entered to check Chun Wei's vital signs, and the conversation paused. While the medical staff worked, Maya opened the commendation letter and read through it quickly. "This is very well written," she told Jake Morrison. "It focuses on the service aspect rather than sensationalizing the shooting." "That was intentional," Jake Morrison replied. "We want to recognize your contribution without turning you into some kind of action movie character." Chun Wei was cleared by the nursing staff, and the conversation resumed. "Maya, show me your shooting log from yesterday and today. I want to review your preparation and performance." Maya pulled a small notebook from her jacket pocket. She had been keeping detailed shooting logs since she started training with her grandfather, recording every practice session, every shot fired, and every lesson learned. Chun Wei studied the pages carefully, his experienced eye noting wind conditions, range estimates, equipment settings, and Maya's personal observations about each shot. "Your preparation was thorough," he said approvingly. "But I notice you didn't eat anything this morning before the mission. Nutrition affects steadiness and concentration." "I was too nervous," Maya admitted. "My stomach was upset thinking about the responsibility." "Understandable for your first high-pressure situation," Chun Wei said. "But remember that your body is part of your shooting system. Proper nutrition, hydration, and rest are as important as equipment maintenance." Jake Morrison listened to this exchange with fascination. "The level of detail you two discuss is incredible. Most hunters I know just focus on getting close enough for an easy shot. Distance shooting is a discipline that requires mastery of multiple variables," Chun Wei explained. "Ballistics, meteorology, mathematics, physiology, psychology. Maya has been studying all these subjects for years. Which is why I want to focus on wildlife biology in college," Maya added. "Understanding animal behavior could prevent situations like today's from developing." Chun Wei smiled at his granddaughter's idealism. "A noble goal. But remember that predators have been hunting for millions of years. Sometimes human intervention is necessary to maintain balance." The afternoon wore on with discussions of technique, strategy, and the broader implications of Maya's morning adventure. Jake Morrison shared updates from other rangers about the complete dispersal of the wolf pack and the return to normal conditions throughout the park. "The professional hunters asked me to pass along their contact information," Jake Morrison said, handing Maya several business cards. "They were genuinely impressed by your abilities." Maya looked through the cards politely, but without enthusiasm. "I appreciate their recognition, but I'm not interested in commercial hunting opportunities." "What about law enforcement applications?" Jake Morrison suggested. "SWAT teams and tactical units are always looking for skilled marksmen. The FBI has precision rifle positions that might interest you." Chun Wei's expression grew serious. "Those are career paths we've discussed. But Maya needs to finish her education first. Specialized skills like hers require broad knowledge to be used responsibly." "Of course," Jake Morrison agreed quickly. "I just wanted her to know that options exist if her interests develop in that direction." A doctor entered the room to discuss Chun Wei's recovery progress with the family. Maya and Jake Morrison stepped into the hallway to continue their conversation privately. "Your grandfather is remarkable," Jake Morrison observed. "I can see where you learn not just shooting skills, but wisdom about when and how to use them. He's taught me that having the ability to take life creates an obligation to preserve it whenever possible," Maya replied. "Today was necessary, but it should be a last resort, not a first option." "That's exactly the attitude we need more of in wildlife management," Jake Morrison said. "People who understand both the technical capabilities and the ethical responsibilities." They returned to Chun Wei's room as the doctor finished his consultation. The prognosis was positive, full recovery expected within a few weeks, with gradual return to normal activities. "Grandfather, when you're discharged, would you be willing to meet with Tom Bradley and Bill Rogers? They seem genuinely interested in learning more about your training methods." Chun Wei considered the request. "If they're serious students rather than curiosity seekers, I might be willing to share some knowledge. Good technique should be passed on to people who will use it responsibly." As visiting hours drew to a close, Jake Morrison prepared to leave. "Maya, I'll try to manage media inquiries as much as possible, but you should be prepared for continued attention over the next few weeks." "I understand," Maya replied. I'll try to handle it gracefully while staying focused on my studies. After Jake Morrison left, Maya spent a few more minutes alone with her grandfather. The old soldier studied his granddaughter's face carefully. "How do you feel about taking a life today?" he asked quietly. "Even when necessary, it affects people differently." Maya considered the question seriously, sad that it was necessary, but confident that it was the right decision. Ghost was a magnificent animal, but he had become dangerous to people. "I feel responsible for using the most humane method possible." Chenwei nodded approvingly. "That's the correct emotional response. Never let killing become easy, but don't let necessary actions become paralyzing guilt." "Grandfather, do you think I'm ready for more responsibility? Today felt like a test that I passed, but I'm not sure what comes next." The old man smiled. "Maya, you've been ready for years. I've just been waiting for you to realize it yourself. Today proved that your technical skills and mental discipline are sound. Now we work on expanding your knowledge and judgment." As Maya prepared to leave the hospital, her grandfather called her back one final time. "Maya, remember that today's success will bring new challenges. People will want to test you, use you, or prove themselves against you. Stay focused on your goals and values. Don't let other people's expectations change who you are." Maya kissed her grandfather's forehead and promised to return the next day. As she walked through the hospital corridors toward the parking garage, she reflected on how much her life had changed in a single morning. This morning, she had been a high school student who happened to be an exceptional marksman. Tonight, she was someone whose abilities had been tested under the ultimate pressure and proven worthy of trust. The transformation felt both exhilarating and sobering. The next morning arrived with an unwelcome surprise. Maya's phone had been ringing since 6 o'clock with calls from reporters, hunting magazines, and television producers. By the time she finished breakfast, 12 voicemail messages were waiting, and her email inbox contained 43 interview requests. "This is exactly what grandfather warned me about," Maya muttered, scrolling through messages that ranged from respectful journalistic inquiries to sensationalized requests for the amazing teen sniper story. Her high school principal, Dr. Rebecca Martinez, had called twice asking Maya to come in early to discuss managing the situation. The story had apparently reached the school community overnight through social media posts from students whose parents worked at the park. Maya arrived at Jefferson High School 30 minutes before first period, hoping to avoid the attention of her classmates. Dr. Martinez was waiting in her office with a concerned expression and a stack of printed emails. "Maya, I want to help you handle this appropriately," Dr. Martinez began. "We've received dozens of calls from media organizations, and several students have already posted about you on social media platforms." Maya slumped into a chair across from the principal's desk. "I was hoping to keep this quiet and just focus on my studies." "I understand that preference," Dr. Martinez replied. "But we need to be realistic about managing the attention. I've spoken with our school district's communications director, and we can provide some protection by controlling access to you during school hours." "What kind of protection?" Maya asked. "We can designate you as unavailable for interviews during school time, route all media requests through the district office, and provide you with resources for handling public attention," Dr. Martinez explained. "We've dealt with this before when students achieved national recognition in sports or academics." Maya appreciated the offer, but worried about the implications. "I don't want to be treated differently from other students. This whole situation is already making me uncomfortable." "That's precisely why we want to help," Dr. Martinez said. "You can maintain your normal school experience while having support for managing external pressures." The morning proceeded with unusual dynamics. Some students approached Maya with genuine curiosity and respect, while others seemed to view her as a celebrity novelty. Her close friends were protective, creating a buffer between Maya and the more intrusive attention seekers. During lunch, Maya's best friend Sarah Kim sat beside her in their usual spot in the library. "This is crazy," Sarah observed, watching several students attempting to photograph Maya from across the room. "Yesterday, you were just my study partner who happened to be really good at shooting. Today, people are acting like you're some kind of action hero." "It's weird," Maya agreed. "I'm the same person I was yesterday. I just did what grandfather trained me to do." "But what you did was pretty amazing," Sarah pointed out. "I mean, saving all those families from a wolf attack?" That's not exactly normal teenage behavior. Maya's phone buzzed with another call from an unknown number. She let it go to voicemail, as she had been doing all morning. Have you decided how you want to handle all this attention? Sarah asked. Grandfather suggested controlled disclosure, Maya replied. Maybe do one serious interview that tells the story accurately, then refer everyone else to that. But I'm not sure which outlet would be most appropriate. Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Derek Morrison, Jake Morrison's son and a senior at Jefferson High. Derek had always been polite to Maya, but they weren't particularly close friends. Maya, my dad wanted me to pass along a message, Derek said, sitting down across from them. A reporter from Outside Magazine called the Park Service this morning. Dad thinks they might be a good choice if you decide to do an interview. Why Outside Magazine? Maya asked. They focus on outdoor activities and conservation, Derek explained. Dad thinks they tell your story in context rather than sensationalizing it. Plus, their readers would understand the technical aspects better than general media. Maya considered this suggestion. Outside Magazine had a reputation for thoughtful outdoor journalism rather than sensational storytelling. What else did your dad say? Maya asked. He wanted you to know that the wolf situation has completely resolved. No further incidents. No sign of pack reformation. The other ranchers in the area have expressed their appreciation. Good, Maya said. That was the real goal, protecting people and ending the threat. The afternoon brought an unexpected visitor to the school. Tom Bradley, the professional hunter from Montana, appeared in the main office requesting a meeting with Maya. Dr. Martinez consulted with Maya before allowing the meeting in a supervised conference room. I hope you don't mind the intrusion, Tom Bradley said as he sat across from Maya in the school's small conference room. I wanted to follow up on our conversation yesterday and discuss something important. What can I help you with, Mr. Bradley? Maya asked politely. Tom Bradley pulled out a folder containing several documents. I've been thinking about your interest in wildlife biology and your exceptional shooting skills. There might be opportunities that combine both interests. He spread out information about various wildlife research programs that employed precision marksmanship for animal management and conservation. These are programs that tag large predators for research, capture problem animals for relocation, and conduct population surveys in difficult terrain, Tom Bradley explained. They need people with your technical skills and your conservation mindset. Maya examined the materials with growing interest. Several programs focused specifically on large predator research and management, exactly the kind of work that could prevent situations like the wolf crisis. This is fascinating, Maya said, studying a research program description. They use tranquilizer darts for capture rather than lethal force whenever possible. Exactly, Tom Bradley nodded. But tranquilizer darting requires even more precision than hunting. You need to hit specific body areas for proper drug absorption, account for delayed effect times, and ensure the animal's safety throughout the process. These programs require college degrees, Maya observed, reading the qualification requirements. Which is why I wanted to talk to you now, Tom Bradley said. Some of these organizations offer internship and scholarship programs for promising students. Your demonstrated abilities would make you an extremely competitive candidate. Maya felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly the kind of career path she had hoped might exist but hadn't known how to find. Would you be willing to provide recommendations? Maya asked. Absolutely, Tom Bradley replied. But more than that, I'd like to arrange for you to visit some of these programs during your summer break. Getting hands-on experience would help you understand the work and make connections in the field. Dr. Martinez, who had been quietly observing the conversation, leaned forward. This sounds like excellent career exploration for Maya. These programs would provide valuable context for her college applications as well. The meeting continued for another 30 minutes, with Tom Bradley providing detailed information about various wildlife research organizations and their approach to predator management. Maya found herself genuinely excited about potential career paths that would use her skills in service of conservation. Mr. Bradley, why are you taking so much interest in helping me? Maya asked as the meeting concluded. Tom Bradley's expression grew thoughtful. Maya, in 25 years of hunting and tracking, I've never met anyone with your combination of technical skill and ethical awareness. These wildlife programs need people who understand both the capabilities of precision marksmanship and the responsibility that comes with it. After Tom Bradley left, Maya remained in the conference room with Dr. Martinez to discuss the implications of these new opportunities. This could significantly influence your college planning, Dr. Martinez observed. Wildlife biology programs with emphasis on large predator research would be very specific fields of study. It feels like pieces of a puzzle coming together, Maya said. Yesterday, I was just someone who could shoot accurately. Today I'm learning about career paths I didn't know existed. How do you think your grandfather will react to these opportunities? Dr. Martinez asked. He'll want to research them thoroughly, Maya replied. But I think he'll be pleased that I'm finding ways to use my abilities for conservation rather than just elimination. The school day ended with Maya feeling more optimistic about managing her unwanted fame. The career opportunities that Tom Bradley had presented provided a positive framework for thinking about her future rather than just dealing with current publicity problems. As Maya drove toward the hospital to visit her grandfather, she reflected on how quickly her world was expanding. Yesterday morning, she had been focused on high school classes and weekend shooting practice. Now she was considering wildlife research programs, media interviews, and career paths that combined her marksmanship skills with conservation goals. Chen Wei was sitting up in bed reading when Maya arrived, looking significantly stronger than the previous day. He smiled as she entered the room carrying academic brochures and program descriptions. You look like someone who has been making discoveries, he observed. Maya spread out the materials Tom Bradley had provided and described the meeting in detail. Chen Wei examined each document carefully, his military background making him naturally skeptical of people offering opportunities that seemed too good to be true. These programs appear legitimate, he said after thorough review. The skills they require align well with your abilities, and the conservation focus matches your interests. Are you concerned about the people involved? Maya asked. You're always cautious about strangers offering help. Tom Bradley's military record checks out, Chen Wei replied. I made some calls after our conversation yesterday. He has a solid reputation among people whose opinions I trust. So you think I should pursue these opportunities? Chen Wei set down the brochures and looked directly at his granddaughter. Maya, yesterday proved that your skills are ready for real-world application. Now you need to decide how you want to use those abilities. These programs offer constructive directions rather than destructive ones. What about the media attention? Maya asked. Will publicity help or hurt my chances with these research programs? Properly managed, it could help, Chen Wei replied. Conservation organizations often need public support for their work. Having a spokesperson who can demonstrate the positive applications of marksmanship skills could be valuable to them. Maya's phone rang with another media inquiry. This time, she answered it. Maya, Chen speaking. Miss Chen, this is Jennifer Walsh from Outside Magazine. I understand you were involved in resolving a dangerous wildlife situation yesterday. Would you be willing to discuss the incident for a feature article about young people in outdoor pursuits? Maya looked at her grandfather, who nodded encouragingly. Ms. Walsh, I might be interested in speaking with you. Could you tell me about your approach to the story and what kind of article you're planning? The conversation that followed was professional and respectful. Jennifer Walsh was interested in the broader themes of youth involvement in conservation, responsible hunting practices, and the role of marksmanship skills in wildlife management. This sounds like the kind of interview that could be beneficial, Maya told her grandfather after ending the call. She wants to focus on conservation and responsibility rather than sensationalizing the shooting. Good, Chen Wei said. Controlling the narrative early will help prevent distorted versions of your story from developing. As visiting hours drew to a close, Maya felt that the day had been productive despite the challenges of unwanted attention. The career opportunities that Tom Bradley had presented provided hope for positive directions, and the potential interview with Outside Magazine offered a chance to tell her story on her own terms. Grandfather, do you think yesterday changed my life permanently? Chen Wei smiled. Maya, yesterday didn't change who you are. It revealed who you've always been becoming. The question now is how you'll use that revelation to shape your future. 3 months later, Maya stood on the edge of a research platform overlooking Yellowstone National Park, a tranquilizer rifle resting on a precision shooting rest. Dr. Sarah Blackwood, the lead researcher for the Northern Rockies Wolf Recovery Project, observed through binoculars as a pack of wolves moved through the valley below. Target wolf is the alpha female, Dr. Blackwood said quietly. Gray coat with distinctive dark markings around the muzzle. She needs a new GPS collar for our tracking study. Maya adjusted her scope, calculating distance and wind conditions with the methodical precision her grandfather had drilled into her. The shot would be approximately 600 yards to a moving target that needed to be hit in exactly the right location for the tranquilizer to work effectively. Wind is variable due to thermal currents from the valley, Maya observed. I'll need to time this for when she pauses in that clearing. The summer internship with the Wolf Recovery Project had exceeded all of Maya's expectations. Her interview with Outside Magazine had been published in April, generating significant positive attention for wildlife conservation programs. Tom Bradley's recommendations had opened doors to this prestigious research opportunity. Take your time, Dr. Blackwood said. We've been tracking this pack for 2 weeks waiting for the right opportunity. Precision is more important than speed. Maya controlled her breathing and settled into the familiar zone of intense concentration. Through her scope, she could see the alpha female leading her pack across the clearing. Maya waited for the perfect moment, when the wolf would pause to scent the air, providing a stationary target for the critical few seconds needed for an accurate shot. The tranquilizer dart flew true, striking the wolf in the shoulder muscle where the drug would absorb efficiently. The alpha female stumbled slightly, then lay down as the sedative took effect. The rest of the pack scattered but remained in the general area, showing concern for their leader but maintaining safe distance from the humans. Perfect shot placement, Dr. Blackwood said with admiration. That's the 15th successful darting you've completed this summer. Your accuracy rate is unprecedented for this type of work. Maya secured her rifle and prepared to accompany the research team down to the sedated wolf. The GPS collar replacement would take approximately 20 minutes, during which time Maya would help monitor the animal's vital signs and ensure her safety throughout the procedure. How do you maintain such consistent accuracy under field conditions? Asked Dr. James Torres, a graduate student who had been working with the project for 2 years. Most researchers take months to develop reliable tranquilizer darting skills. My grandfather taught me that every shot is important, whether it's for practice or real application, Maya replied as they descended toward the research site. He never let me develop the mindset that some shots matter more than others. The Wolf Recovery Project had been a revelation for Maya. Instead of eliminating dangerous predators, she was helping scientists gather data that would ensure healthy wolf populations throughout the region. Her marksmanship skills were being used to protect and study the animals rather than hunt them. Dr. Blackwood knelt beside the sedated alpha female and began the delicate process of removing her old GPS collar and replacing it with updated equipment. Maya monitored the wolf's breathing and heart rate, ensuring that the tranquilizer dosage remained within safe parameters. This female has been leading her pack for 3 years, Dr. Blackwood explained as she worked. Our tracking data shows she successfully raised 11 pups and established territory across nearly 200 square miles. She's exactly the kind of breeding female that's crucial for population recovery. Maya studied the magnificent animal up close, noting the scars and markings that told the story of a life spent surviving in the wilderness. The wolf was larger and more powerful than Ghost had been, but her behavior showed none of the dangerous aggression that had made the other pack a threat to humans. What makes the difference between wolves like this pack and the problem animals we dealt with in Colorado? Maya asked. Usually it comes down to territory and food sources, Dr. Torres explained. Healthy packs with adequate hunting grounds rarely come into conflict with humans. Problems develop when habitat is disrupted or prey animals become scarce. The collar replacement was completed efficiently, and the research team began their withdrawal to allow the alpha female to recover in peace. Maya carried her equipment back to the research platform, feeling the deep satisfaction that came from using her skills in service of conservation. Maya, I wanted to discuss your plans for the remainder of the summer, Dr. Blackwood said as they secured their equipment. We've had requests from 3 other research programs asking if you might be available for temporary assignments. Maya's reputation had grown significantly during her internship. Word of her exceptional abilities had spread throughout the wildlife research community, and other projects were eager to utilize her skills. What kind of assignments? Maya asked. Dr. Blackwood pulled out a folder containing information about various research opportunities. There's a grizzly bear study in Alaska that needs someone who can place tracking devices from extended range. A mountain lion project in California that requires precision darting in difficult terrain. And a black bear research program in North Carolina that's been struggling with dart accuracy rates. Maya examined the materials with growing excitement. Each program offered opportunities to learn about different species and ecosystems while using her marksmanship skills for conservation purposes. These all sound fascinating, Maya said. But I need to balance research experience with college preparation. I'm starting at Colorado State University in the fall. Actually, that brings up another opportunity one wanted to discuss, Dr. Blackwood said. Colorado State's wildlife biology program has been following your work this summer. They're interested in developing a specialized track that combines precision marksmanship with field research techniques. This was news to Maya. She had been accepted to Colorado State's standard wildlife biology program, but hadn't heard about any specialized tracks. What would that involve? Maya asked. Essentially, you'd be part of a pilot program that trains students to serve as technical specialists for wildlife research organizations, Dr. Blackwood explained. It would combine traditional biology coursework with advanced marksmanship training and field research methods. Maya felt a surge of excitement at the possibility. This was exactly the kind of program she had hoped might exist but hadn't dared to expect. Would there be opportunities for continued field work during the school year? Maya asked. Absolutely, Dr. Blackwood replied. The program is designed around the idea that students need practical experience alongside academic study. You'd spend school breaks working with different research organizations throughout the West. That evening, Maya called her grandfather from her dormitory at the research station. Chenwei had been discharged from the hospital 6 weeks earlier and was recovering well at home. Grandfather, the opportunities keep expanding faster than I can evaluate them, Maya said, describing the various research programs and the Colorado State proposal. That's the nature of reputation, Chenwei replied. Success creates more opportunities, which create more success. But you need to be selective about which directions you pursue. How do I decide? Maya asked. Focus on your core goals, Chenwei advised. You want to use your abilities for conservation, develop expertise in wildlife biology, and maintain the ethical standards we've discussed. Evaluate each opportunity against those criteria. Maya spent the next hour discussing the various possibilities with her grandfather, weighing the benefits and challenges of each option. His military background provided valuable perspective on managing rapid career development. The Colorado State program sounds like the best foundation, Chenwei concluded. Solid academic credentials with practical application opportunities. The other research assignments can provide valuable experience during breaks and summers. The next morning brought unexpected news. Dr. Blackwood approached Maya during breakfast with a serious expression and a satellite phone. Maya, we've received an emergency request from the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, Dr. Blackwood said. They have a situation that requires immediate response, and they've specifically asked for you. Maya felt a familiar tightness in her stomach. Emergency requests usually meant dangerous situations that required lethal force rather than research applications. What's the nature of the emergency? Maya asked. A grizzly bear has been attacking livestock near Glacier National Park, Dr. Blackwood explained. 3 ranchers have lost cattle, and yesterday the bear charged a family of hikers. Park rangers have been unable to capture or relocate the animal. Maya's heart sank. After 3 months of using her skills to protect and study wildlife, the prospect of returning to lethal applications was deeply unwelcome. Are they certain that tranquilizer capture isn't possible? Maya asked. They've tried multiple times, Dr. Blackwood replied. The bear is extremely aggressive and won't allow close approach. Traditional capture methods have failed, and the situation is becoming increasingly dangerous. Maya understood the implications. A grizzly bear that had lost fear of humans and was actively aggressive represented a level of threat that required immediate resolution. When do they need a response? Maya asked. Today, Dr. Blackwood said. A helicopter is en route to pick you up within the hour. Maya spent the next few minutes gathering her equipment and mentally preparing for a return to the kind of high-pressure shooting situation she hadn't faced since the wolf incident in Colorado. The skills were identical, but the emotional context was completely different. Dr. Blackwood accompanied Maya to the helicopter landing site. Maya, I want you to know that everyone here understands this is a difficult transition. Using your abilities to preserve life through research is very different from using them to eliminate threats. I understand the necessity, Maya replied. But it still feels like a step backward from the conservation work. Not necessarily, Dr. Blackwood said thoughtfully. Sometimes protecting the larger ecosystem requires removing individual animals that have become problematic. It's not ideal, but it's part of responsible wildlife management. As the helicopter lifted off toward Montana, Maya reflected on how much her perspective had changed over the past 3 months. The wolf incident in Colorado had been about proving her abilities under pressure. Today's mission was about applying those abilities in service of broader conservation goals, even when the specific action required was unwelcome. The helicopter pilot, a veteran of wildlife management operations, briefed Maya on the situation as they flew north. The bear is a mature male, probably weighing close to 600 pounds. He's been operating in a pattern, hitting ranches in sequence. Rangers believe he'll strike again tonight. Maya checked her equipment methodically, ensuring that everything was properly secured for the challenging shot ahead. Her grandfather's training had prepared her for exactly this kind of situation, using precision marksmanship to protect people while minimizing broader impact on wildlife populations. As the helicopter approached the landing zone in Montana, Maya thought about the contrast between this morning's successful wolf collaring and the mission ahead. Both applications required identical technical skills, but the outcomes were opposite. Such was the complex reality of using marksmanship abilities in service of wildlife conservation. The helicopter touched down in a field near Glacier National Park, where Montana Rangers were waiting with detailed briefings on the problematic grizzly bear. Maya stepped out of the aircraft knowing that her reputation as a precision marksman who could handle impossible situations was about to be tested once again. But this time with the hard-earned wisdom of someone who understood the broader context of wildlife management. The teenage girl who had surprised everyone with her wolf shooting abilities 3 months earlier was now a young woman with practical field research experience and a deep appreciation for the complexities of human-wildlife conflict. The shot ahead would be no less challenging technically, but Maya now understood it as part of a larger mission to maintain balance between human safety and wildlife conservation. Her journey from unknown teenager to respected wildlife researcher had been accelerated by circumstances, but each experience had built upon the foundation of skill and responsibility that her grandfather had instilled in her. As she prepared her equipment for another life-or-death shot, Maya carried with her the knowledge that true expertise meant understanding not just how to take life, but when and why such actions serve the greater good of conservation.